Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, attraction coach and founder of The Goddess Next Door. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. Mastin Kipp is the founder of thedailylove.com, a website, daily email, and Twitter account that serves soulful inspiration to a new generation. Originally started as a feed of quotes sent just to Mastin's friends, The Daily Love exploded to global fame after just a single tweet from Kim Kardashian. And a love monster was born. Mastin now has a book, Daily Love, Growing into Grace, written with his signature engaging spirit and humor, where he encourages other young seekers to discover their own paths. In Daily Love, he shares his personal stories of near-death experiences, as well as how he found the resolve to survive and overcome them, embracing all of his experiences as part of his journey to become who he really is. Mastin says all spiritual type teachers have come to teach the world what they themselves need to learn. Oprah herself said that Mastin is an up-and-coming thought leader of the next generation of spiritual thinkers. He just concluded a very successful 30-city North American tour. Mastin divides his time between his home in Los Angeles with his girlfriend Jenna and conducting seminars across the U.S., Europe, and beyond, including locations such as Ibiza and Bali. But before I talk with Mastin today, let me share something with you. There was always something I wanted so deeply that eluded me no matter what I did. And there was a point when I wasn't even sure it was possible. That was finding true love. For years, I struggled to get my relationships right, and I can tell you from experience, it's not about how much you know or how many degrees you have. It takes a lot more than that. I found myself emotionally entangled with the passive guy, the unmotivated guy, and the emotionally unavailable guy who couldn't or wouldn't commit. And all of my relationships ended in heartbreak. I was getting really frustrated, and I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. Now, looking back, I see what was happening. Deep down, I didn't feel worthy of love. It was in that moment when I made a decision. I was no longer willing to settle. I was done attracting those types of men into my life, so I knew that I needed to make a change. I knew it could be done. Because I had seen other women who had the fairy tale, and I wanted it too. So I put everything I knew to the test. Over time, I learned what worked and what didn't. I boiled it down to the most powerful things that worked, and I was truly ready to allow myself to have love I always wanted. Here's what happened. I walked myself step by step through what is now the Love Spark program. And I met an amazing man within 30 days. Our story is mind-blowing, and every day our relationship unfolds with more and more excitement and fulfillment of my ultimate dream of true love. Maybe you're where I was just 8 months ago. Maybe you lost the faith that you can meet someone amazing who gets you, where it's not a struggle to be in a relationship with them, or where it's just simply one-sided. If you're ready for love, join me over at the Spark Society, where I'll teach you the exact steps I took to fall in love with my soulmate. Doors open February 1st, so get on the list and I'll let you know as soon as you can register for the Love Spark program. Learn more at theawakenedgoddess.com or go to the podcast page and click on the Spark Society banner. Thanks for listening. Hey, Mastin, how are you today?
Hey, how's it going?
Great. I'm excited to have you join me today on the Awakened Goddess show. We connected when we were both in Portland, Oregon, for your book tour, and
That's right.
that was a fantastic event. And so I'm excited to talk about your book today, Daily Love. And I know Daily Love is your first book. So why did you choose to write it, and why now?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, thanks for coming up to Portland. That was an awesome, fun show, and my first time in Portland, and definitely not my last. So really loved it there.
Good.
So, there's a lot of different books that I'm interested in writing. I call them framework books, which is really just how to do something, because that's really what I am. I'm a trainer, I'm a teacher, and I teach people how to do lots of different things: purpose, relationships, finances, making money, doing what you love, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I wanted to write as a first book something that really told a story of who I was and why you should listen to me, and on top of that, why I went through what I went through and how I got through it. Because I think when I was, going through my hard times, there were a lot of teachers who would talk about brief moments in their life of hardship, but that was very easily sort of passed over. And then, ta-da, this is who I am today. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always wanted to know more about the hard times, because I think that's so much more relatable than, being on the other side. Because, once you've gotten to a place where you have millions of readers and steady income and a relationship, it's a lot easier to maintain that than getting there in the first place. And so that's what I wanted to write about, was really, how did I handle the dark times? How did I handle relapsing on drugs and alcohol? What did I do when I wanted to give up and I wanted to take my own life? And really go to some of those dark places with the intention of really, hoping that story, more than a teaching process, would inspire people who are at the beginning of their journey to get started and kind of know, okay, well, if this guy went through what he went through, then I can get through it too. And that's been really how the book has been received,
Mm-hmm.
which is very exciting, because I do think that right now, because of technology and because of the affluence of the West, there is a call for deepening of meaning and deepening of spirituality, because for the most part in the West, all of our material needs are met. And yes, we have starving children in this country, and a lot of political problems, but for the most part, the West and America is an affluent country.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed is that a lot of people don't have fulfillment or that deep sense of feeling like they're alive. And so that's kind of an emerging need that's happening in our country and a lot of Western countries that are past the majority of their citizens, not having a roof over their head. Now that we kind of got to that abundant place, the next question is, well, it's great that I have a job, but I want to love my life. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel happy. And instead of just teaching a 12-step process for that, I wanted to kind of share my journey and primarily the struggles that I came up against in my journey to really figure out what my bliss was, what my purpose was, and how to really show up in the world, as alive as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what a journey you've been on, my God. and I really appreciate that about you, is that you have that authenticity and you have a lot of integrity in what you're putting out there. And so, that is really tough to do. I mean, to be that out there with your dirty laundry, so to speak, it is, challenging.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that after, I've worked with thousands of people live. I've had millions of people come to the website over the last few years. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because, I have a scientific mind. I was raised by scientists and biologists, and it's a very large data set of really human behavior that I get to look at and, hear the questions that the deepest pain that they're asking. And what you'll find, for the most part, it doesn't matter what country you're in. I've been to Bali, I've been to the United Kingdom, and everywhere in between. People are pretty much asking the same questions. And for the most part, once you get to know someone a little bit more than just, hey, hi, how are you? Everyone has their fair share of pain or hurt or upset or fear that holds them back. And so it actually, I don't really see it as dirty laundry. I see it as humanizing myself, because I think a lot of people in the personal growth space kind of get put on pedestals because they think that there's some, magical person with magical powers. And I don't really think that's healthy. I think that everyone's just going through it. Every personal growth leader I've ever met still has issues to work out. In fact, I think people who are teachers of this stuff have more issues than most, because that's why we got into teaching it in the first place. We're some of the most messed up people out there, which is why you see a lot of relationship coaches have a hard time with relationships, and health coaches have a hard time with weight, because it's like that was their personal struggle. So I think it's really more of a humanization process and an acknowledgement that, we all have, I've just seen the data, everyone has a struggling point. And so, if you look at like the work of Brene Brown, the researcher from Houston, she has shown that with vulnerability and a little bit more openness around the struggle, it's actually a very powerful healing, and it actually increases productivity too when you can be a little bit more honest, because the body can relax and people can really, understand what you're going through, which creates more of a bond. And that's really what human connection is about. And the blessing of the internet today is that it's not just one-to-one anymore, it's one-to-many. Mm-hmm. And so the impact can be that much greater. So I didn't really see it as really airing my dirty laundry. I saw it as an opportunity to just kind of say, hey, I'm a human being. Here's what I've struggled with. I know you're going through struggles too, whether you admit it or not. And here are my struggles, and here's the triumphs that I had in spite of those struggles. And if this can be a path for you to follow, or a guide, and to know that like even in your darkest moments, like there's going to be a turning point, mm-hmm. then I've done a good job.
Yeah, very cool. So I love that you refer to yourself as a recovering Christian in your book. So why did you make that shift? Yeah, from religion to spirituality, and what does that mean to you?
Sure. Well, if you look at the beginning of any religion, you see the recent, killings in Paris taken in the name of religion, and that's on the extremist Muslim side, and the extremist Christian side, we have the Crusades and the Ku Klux Klan. So every religion is not immune to violence. But if you look at the beginning of any religion, it doesn't matter what religion it is, there was a wise teacher or someone who woke up and realized profound truths that are universal about life, and then said, hey, here are some guidelines, here are some values, here are some rules, here are some beliefs that can be beneficial to you. And then they from an awakened or semi-transcendent state, they pass these on to people who have a lower level consciousness, who turn them into, you must do this and you cannot do this, and he or she was the only one to follow. And so you have these very awakened, alive, powerful, profound, universal teachings that transcend religion. They get turned into religion because people of lower level consciousness don't understand the full meaning of the teachings. And then on top of that, if you look at specifically the Christian religion, after Christ, many years after Christ was killed, the whole Bible was put together through a political system, Constantine, the Council of Nicaea. So you had politicians voting on what was in and out of our religious literature, which, I don't know about you, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, or independent, no one in Washington, D.C. should be telling us what's going on in our Bible. But yet that's how the Christian religion came to be. So what's happened is you have these very awakened teachings that have been sort of distilled down, thwarted, changed, and misinterpreted over thousands of years into a very dull set of do's and don'ts that doesn't really serve the human spirit. And so you're seeing a very big move today away from religion into spirituality. You're also seeing a move away from dogmatic thinking in religion to a more open and accepting version of religion. So one of my favorite examples of that in the Christian faith is the Hillsong Church. They come from Sydney, Australia. They're massive. Their band Hillsong United can sell out Madison Square Garden, and it's a huge movement. But if you go to a Hillsong not seminar, I do seminars. If you go to Hillsong service in New York or Los Angeles or Sydney or wherever you might be, you're going to feel a very different tone with these people. Even the new Pope, in many ways, is a lot more spiritual than religious, in that there's not this binding set of dogmatic do's and don'ts. It's a very much more open, loving bottom line. And that's ultimately what spirituality is. Spirituality is a measure of how loving you are of yourself, your creator, and others. And I think that, when you see what's happening in the name of Allah in Paris, or if you see what's happening in the name of Jesus in a lot of places in America, these people are not representing a religious teacher. They're representing a level of consciousness, which is a dogmatic, fundamentalist, fear-based consciousness level. And trust me, there's all kinds of people there's dogmatic Christians, Jews, Muslims, there's dogmatic vegans. You've met them, right? So that's a level of By the way, on that note, I read an article recently that the kale is aware of the fact that it's dying when you're blending it in the smoothie. So just so you know, like the kale knows, which are my vegan friends. But the idea is that like there should be a little bit more of an open, accepting conversation happening, and it's happening with the left or liberal movements within the religions. However, you have a very small, scared, powerful, well-financed group of extremists who are causing massive amounts of violence in the world today in the name of a God that would not condone what they're doing. Right. So I think that the difference between spirituality and religion primarily is that religion has turned into a dogmatic set of rules where we're right and they're wrong, which completely misses the point of why it was found in the first place. And people have a knowing and a intuitive sense that this is incorrect. And so there's a more liberal, sort of inclusive conversation happening, not just in the yoga spiritual world, but in, liberal Muslim circles, liberal Christian circles, liberal Jewish circles. You're seeing a trend towards this because what people are searching for, more than rules that say do this, don't do this, they're looking for the experience of the transcendent, the experience of feeling connected to the divine or to being connected to life. And the way in which a lot of old school conservative fundamentalist views that are placed on religion, they aren't translating into that experience for the new generation. So they're finding other ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so nice to have that shift happening. Because, spirituality is, like you said, it's all about love and expansion and connection rather than maybe like a fear-based or limitation. So, yeah. Okay, so going back to your book, you talk about grace, of course, and you also talk about finding one's journey and how it's always evolving. So is there ever a time when we're done or when we're going to find when we're full of grace?
No, I think that the human experience is one that is set up to be a play between desire and satiation. Like we all have a desire for growth and we all want to be satiated, but we don't want to have just desire and we don't want to have just satiation. We want to have a little bit of both. And, one of our core beliefs in everything that I teach, which I learned from my mentor, Tony Robbins, is that if you want to have happiness and fulfillment in your life, you have to feel a sense of growth or progress towards a goal. And to my Buddhist friends who wish to be desireless, I would say that a desire to not have a desire is still a desire. So I think that desire is really the one of the sort of primary impulses of human nature. And so I think that there's always another level of awareness for us to go to in our personal growth path. There's always another level of mastery to get to. And I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but, I do believe in that the soul travels on beyond the body. Yeah. And even in this life, once you get it in this life, there's probably something else. So I think that God or a creator doesn't like to be bored. And so, there's a lot of growth and learning that is happening as our souls progress through lifetimes, which sounds weird for me to say, but I do believe that. And also just in our own personal life, because when you get to that place of being done, it's like that's boring after about a week. Exactly. So there's always another challenge. Yeah,
that would be like a vacation that you can never leave from.
Yeah, that'd be boring. Yeah. Like, that'd be so boring.
Yeah, so in your journey, what has been the greatest lesson that you have experienced?
It's hard to think of that and make it actually land for people without it sounding trite.
Well, yeah.
But I really do think it all comes back to one of the things I teach in my mastery program and our retreats in Bali is what I call a purpose hierarchy. And the purpose hierarchy is sort of an order in which people should come or relationship with God should come in your life. And most people tend to put God or other people first, feeling that this is a good idea to take care of other people, to have a great relationship with your creator. But what I've seen time and time again is that there has to be a relationship with yourself first. And so that idea of self-care, self-love, taking care of yourself, not in a narcissistic way, because when you think about self-love, it can be very narcissistic. I've seen people that, claim to love themselves are really just scared of intimacy or vulnerability. Yeah. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is really understanding, what do I need to be lit up in this life? How am I going to exercise? How am I going to eat? how am I set boundaries? Like, what are my priorities? How am I going to schedule my day so that I get done what I want to get done instead of the world telling me what I have to get done? And I think that really figuring that out for each individual person and being unapologetic about setting boundaries is like the first primary step. And I can tell you, every time I think I got this one mastered, life will wake me up. About 9 months ago, I thought I was in the pocket, and then I was out with a debilitating lower back injury, which taught me a lot more about self-care and self-love. And so I think that it always comes back to that, because what I found is that when you're taking care of yourself, it allows you to show up fuller in service to whatever your higher power might be. And it allows you to show up fuller in relationships, because I can't tell you how many people I've met that are in a relationship and wondering, well, where's mine? When am I going to get? I've given so much. Where's mine? And the question becomes, well, how well did you take care of yourself? And that's a whole other conversation around standards and boundaries and self-trust. But the idea of like really understanding like how to love yourself so that you can love God better, so that you can show up in relationships better, continues to be the most important lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you say, it's like when you think you have something, that's when universe or God is going to say, hey, let's put a little, test here, or let's see how you're going to deal with this.
Yeah. Luckily, I think as you go on the personal growth path too, that your highs get higher and your lows get higher.
Yeah. Yeah. So the baseline just elevates so that,
exactly.
That's always good to look forward to.
Exactly.
All right. So in your daily spiritual practice, what's something that you have started doing that has really impacted your life?
I think two things lately, and it's going to require an expansion of what most people consider to be a spiritual practice.
Sure.
But the number one thing that I've done is eliminate all processed sugar from my diet. So that includes agave and honey and anything that's like super high glycemic.
Oh my God, good for
fruits and vegetables. When people say I got sugar out of my diet, fruit has sugar. It's like, yes, we have fruit, but we have low glycemic fruit. Really like getting a handle on that. And one of the biggest benefits of that has just been a massive amount of clarity and a sense of reclaiming my own life from the pull of sugar. Which is very profound and intense. And, now that I've been out of that maze for a few months, looking around and seeing how addicted America and the West is to sugar is really scary, actually. And one of the most powerful tools in that process for me has been a supplement, an amino acid called L-glutamine. I get a powder from Thorne, which is pharmaceutical grade. And I feed my brain body well with L-glutamine, and it doesn't crave sugar anymore.
Oh, nice.
Which seems to be a freaking miracle. So coupled with that, when I was in high school, I was an athlete, an all-star baseball player and wrestler, and then I injured myself, and I stopped kind of working out and got more into computers and doing what I do now, and kind of let my body go. And I had this wake-up call a few months ago around the same time that, you know what, I'm an athlete, and I have to treat my body as an athlete would. So I started with working out a few times a week, then like once a day. Now it's 3 times a day. And like that has been one of the most profound spiritual experiences of my life, because it's the dedication, the commitment to showing up, and the biochemical change in my body, just more energy, more aliveness, more joy, more passion. Like it's just incredible how, for me, like being a masculine male, heterosexual masculine male, like being able to lift weights and grunt and get pissed off and like do that whole like very masculine thing in a world where I'm surrounded by 93% of my audience is female,
that's a lot of energy to balance out.
a lot of estrogen. Like after every retreat I have to go like watch a war movie or something, but to like really reclaim that has been very powerful and profound. And I really do think that movement in the body is a very important spiritual practice, because God gave us a body that has all kinds of neurotransmitters and hormones and, different incredible opportunities to feel good. And the more we can use our body, I think the more that we honor our Creator in doing so.
Yeah. Well, and like you say, treating yourself as an athlete, and really letting go of those things that kind of just cover up your feelings or kind of dull you down or whatever happens, however it reacts for you. But yeah, it's amazing how many substances or things that we have in our life that really can create that fogginess or.
Oh my gosh, massive. Yeah. And it's crazy. Like just the other day was my 33rd birthday, and I didn't have any sugar during Christmas or Thanksgiving. And I was like, you know what? It's my birthday, and I'm going to have a little bit, but I'm going to work out 3 times first. I'm going to like have incredible protein, incredible salad before I had the sugar. And I had like a quarter of a piece of cake. And I got to tell you, I woke up the next day, I felt like an asshole. Like I just felt awful. I felt foggy. My ADD was back. And I was just like, this is not worth it. Like, this is just not worth the loss of productivity, the lack of self-respect I'm feeling, the lack of energy that I'm feeling. It took like a day and a half to shake it off like a hangover. So, it's just not worth it. And what's crazy is that I lived the majority of my life in that state.
Yeah.
So it's, it's been a massive wake-up call. When I broke up with sugar, I felt like I was losing a best friend. Yeah. I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah.
And I think of her often.
Do you write her love letters still?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, so talking about love, you have been talking about love for years and years and years. And from the beginning, it's been a labor of love. But I know at some point there was a shift when it became financially prosperous for you with the daily love. And I'm wondering if there is a correlation that you can make between love and money.
Yes. What I'm about to say might piss some people off, but that's fine. Right. Look at your relationship with money and look at all the stories that you have around money. And any stories that you have about why you can't or can justify not having an abundant amount of money are really stories you're telling yourself about your own unworthiness.
Yes.
Money in and of itself is an energy, right? There's all kinds of stories people have about money and, rich people are this and the 1% this and the 99% this and all that type of stuff. The reality is, if you look around, we live in an abundant universe. Just like the most latest data from NASA about like what we're finding out about like how many billions of galaxies are out. It's just like insane how big this universe is and how abundant it is. If you look at like when any fruit or vegetable that is created, for the most part, has an abundant number of seeds that it produces. We live in an abundant world, and I do believe that it is our natural state to be abundant. The systems that we have set up for ourselves up until this point have not changed really since, World War II. When we started to industrialize and really have that, that wartime economy, and we put people back to work after the Depression, and we just kind of created this 9-to-5 manufacturing kind of mentality. And manufacturing has changed since then because what we're manufacturing now is content. What we're manufacturing now is frameworks. What we're manufacturing now is code and websites that don't necessarily require being in a physical space. We're working remotely. And so the systems that a lot of people are living in today of employment are based in a consciousness of probably at least 50, 60, 70 years ago, if not longer, maybe 100 years ago. And the reality of what's happening today with the technological shifts, with the ability to produce massive amounts of income, no matter where you are in the world, is really kind of helping people break free from what feels like a grind and really tap into what makes them feel most lit up and excited. And so there's a switch happening from 9 to 5, go to work, do what other people tell you to do, to more of an entrepreneurial, independent contractor, set your own schedule world. That being said, I'm not against, any hard manufacturing company or process. It's just that the way in which the world is evolving, it's becoming more, how should I put this, employee friendly, so that we're seeing a lot more people. Like our team is all over the country. We're not centralized in the office. We don't have to keep office hours. Our whole organization is run by results. I have a couple people in Texas. I have a couple people in Colorado. I have one person in Vancouver. I have couple people in California. We're all over the place. I have a developer in Malaysia. So we're all over the place. We're multinational. And so that's creating a consciousness shift for people, because what's exciting is that, we have multiple clients who have started 6-figure businesses that are making as much or more than like the typical lawyer, doctor type of jobs. and they're having free time and they're traveling, and it's a really beautiful level of abundance that is coming our way. And I think that when it comes to money, it's more about the story. People say, well, I need a job. It's like, no, you don't need a job. What you need is income. That's the most important. If you have income with energy coming in, then you can have a more energetic life. And it's really having more courage to understand there's a new way of doing things that doesn't necessarily have to be as certain or as comfortable as sort of the 9-to-5 corporate job. And I'm not anti-corporate jobs, but the people who tend to come to me are people who are sort of fed up with the corporate job and want something more entrepreneurial and fulfilling for lots of different reasons, to make more money for their family, to be more available for their children, to be able to help pay off their parents' mortgage. Like, it doesn't really matter. There's lots of reasons why people want to be more entrepreneurial, to be more abundant, but it is your natural birthright. And if you really stick with something long enough, you can find your sweet spot. And, for me, I had to couch surf for, 2 years. Yeah. And people are like, oh, well, Kim Kardashian's tweet made you rich. Like, no, I couch surfed for 2 years after that. Yeah. It wasn't until I started to own my own worth and understand that, like, there's a whole other way to make money out there, not being afraid of marketing, not being afraid of how much money I can earn, and having the self-care to be able to charge what I know that I'm worth. And the marketplace has paid that. And, anytime someone comes to one of our events or retreats or Daily Life Mastery online course, they always feel like they get way more value than they paid for. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which to me is, that's our standard. So, it's a beautiful thing. We have happy clients. We have an abundant business that allows me, we just got a house for my girlfriend's parents. We put my mother through rehab with that. We employ people. So it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship. We pay taxes. I mean, it's like a beautiful thing, So I just think that, there's had been a stigma the last few years about rich people. And it's like, it's not, first of all, not all rich people are evil corporations. And on top of that, like, instead of complaining about other people doing evil things with money, like, go add value to the world and create a system through which you can create a profit and then change the system that way, right, rather than just complaining about stuff. Because, it's like, I was down there with the Occupy Wall Street movement. Marianne Williamson was down there. Deepak was down there. And I saw a lot of frustration. And I would like to channel that frustration into more entrepreneurial endeavors for the people who are frustrated to create their own abundance. Mm-hmm. Because I do think that, we need love, we need light, but we also need cash. Yeah. And that's an important part of life,
It is. And I think what you're saying about self-worth and self-value and recognizing that you have innate value and worth, it's like you have to come to that place before you can allow that abundance in. And in the same token, love, that genuine, real, deep love. So, yeah.
That's right. And I think that love is the term that kind of gets thrown around and people get confused. Is that romantic love? Ultimately, love, our definition of love here and what we teach is be able to unconditionally accept what is. Mm-hmm. Yourself, your partner, God, your circumstances, whatever it might be. Not toleration, not tolerating what is necessarily, but being able to accept it for what it is. Because when you can accept things, you're able to work with it. And I think that there's lots of different types of love. There's romantic love, there's business love, there's entrepreneurial love. There's lots of different ways in which you can experience love. But I know for me, I got to about maybe 60, 70,000 people in my newsletter, and I was broke. And I had this big story that I had to get 1 million people on my newsletter before I could make any money. Yeah. And that's not necessarily true. What's true is that I had to, love myself and know my own self-worth and actually put up a landing page where I could charge money. And that is when everything changed.
Yeah. Awesome. And the rest is history, right? So speaking of that, kind of like that breakthrough for you, I'm sure there were many other upper limits that you had to work through over the years. So what advice would you give to people, especially our entrepreneurs out there who find themselves ready to up-level their life? What advice could you give them?
Sure. So I think you got to be scared all the time. Yeah. I think that's a prereq. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for more free time, you chose the wrong profession. Mm-hmm. If you're an entrepreneur and looking for comfort, you chose the wrong profession. Yeah. Up-leveling your toleration for risk is huge. Up-leveling your community is huge. I think investing in coaches who are further along than you are is huge. I have a 6-figure a year budget in my own personal growth and education. That is the majority of my money. But it's like the growth and the connections, and it's like I'm so excited for the next 18 months because like what I know about internet marketing today, trumps what I knew 12 months ago because I've been around people like just Jeff Walker and Brendan Burchard and Joe Polish and, just like in the rooms, like seeing what they're doing. So I think like doing whatever it can to really get in the room. And then most importantly, like add a tremendous amount of value to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Like whatever you think your best stuff is, like give that away for free in your pre-launch content, and then come up with even better stuff for your course, and just over-give and over-deliver on time and time again, because it's like that to me is the most important thing, because it's like who we're serving, and we're serving our clients.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's like, if you don't add value to them, they're not going to, your word of mouth is not going to spread. They're going to ask for refunds. I'm really proud to say we have a 1.5% refund rate on our Daily Love Mastery program, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
We have a 75% completion rate. So it's like very exciting to sort of see like the level of engagement that people are having because we add value. And the cool thing is, it's starting to get out there now. People know about the program. They tell their friends, you should sign up, and that produces more abundance. Mm-hmm. And, I've been really blessed to watch and be a part of the B School launches with Marie Forleo. Mm-hmm. And it's like she's built an incredible brand and business through just adding so much value to the marketplace. And it's like, we love her for it.
Yeah.
You can't not love her, know? And so I think that that is really the most important thing, is like get really good at giving, and also get really good at knowing what you're worth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that your clients, your potential clients, or people that are coming and in contact with you can really feel if you're coming from a place of lack and limitation where you're holding back that really good stuff. And yeah, that is definitely a mindset shift to start thinking, here I can give my best away, and because I'm an unlimited being, I can produce even better.
Yeah. My friend Brendan told me to do that. He's like, what should I do in my pre-launch content? He's like, give away your best stuff. And I was like,
what?
Well, if I give away my best stuff, what are they going to teach? He's like, you'll figure it out, And it's so true. And then like my ass was on the line, and I had to come up with even better stuff, and the better stuff was even better, So I think it's about pushing yourself, and and really I see like especially like product launches and offerings to the marketplace. Like I get excited by up-leveling myself.
Sure.
Like I don't want my next launch to be like my last launch. I want to be like twice as good, because I have a very competitive spirit. Not like I win, you lose, but just like I enjoy competition. I think it's a really great way. And the benefit of competition is that if I'm competing with myself and my peers, the net benefit is, and we all support each other, is that the net benefit is to the community and to the consumer, because the consumer is going to get a better product. Mm-hmm. And so, you see this with Microsoft and Apple. You see it with the Beach Boys and Beatles. It's like, it's timeless, So I really think that having a playful, healthy sense of competition in the marketplace is really good too. And, I'm friends with, Marie and Gabby and Chris and Danielle and Brendan. And like, I want to up them, and then I want them to up me. And I want to I really enjoy that process,
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I have to say that you are the first of the group to be on the show. So Gabby is in a
awesome.
Couple months. So you beat her to the punch.
That's awesome.
All right. So to finish us off, what is something that the listeners can start doing immediately to welcome more love and grace into their life?
Okay, so here's what I need to do. I want you to ask yourself what you really want in life. Like, you really want a healthy body. You really want to start a business. You really want a relationship. You really want to take your relationship to the next level, whatever it might be. And I want you to look at how you schedule your time. And I want you to look at the next month of your life and schedule your priorities first. Schedule your exercise, schedule your blog writing, schedule your business time, schedule your relationship time, schedule your exercise, whatever it might be. Schedule that. Then schedule job and other responsibilities around that. And then if there's extra time, schedule everybody else. But really look at how you're spending your time, because I think, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. You and I have the exact same number of time. What is it? I saw on Facebook. You have the same number of hours in the day as Beyonce.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like how you schedule time is really important. Do you take time to meditate? Do you take time to take care of yourself? And the thing is, for me, when I did that, my days got so full that I had to say no to 95% of everything else.
Yeah.
And what I realized is, when I hit that bottom 9 months ago, is that like I started my business so that I could have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more, kind of do what I want when I want in my life. And I found that the business and the world was telling me what to do. And I was like, no, I'm taking my power back. So I took my power back, and my answer for the most part today is no. And I got really good at saying no. And I think that's really important, because the bigger no to others, the bigger yes to yourself. And it's very powerful to be able to do that because, I mean, I can't tell you how many people buy online courses or books or whatever and then don't do them. They never take the cellophane off, And so it's like really find time for that because when you invest in yourself and when you take care of yourself, when you love yourself, when you get those priorities straight, life opens up in a really beautiful way. And I've seen it happen time and time and time again with my clients and our readers. So really just have the audacity to put yourself first.
Mm-hmm. That's a great tip. Awesome. I think I'm going to check out my calendar. I better reassess that a little bit.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So if you guys want to find the courage to do what you really love instead of what you think you have to do, then grab a copy of Mastin's book, Daily Love. So Mastin, is there anything you'd like to leave us with or let us know where people can find you and connect?
Sure. So two things. One, the number one virtue that I would love for everyone watching this to really embody is courage. Courage makes everything else possible. Courage to live your dreams, courage to leave unhealthy relationships, courage to get into a relationship. Courage is the number one virtue that makes your spiritual life and your abundant life possible. So that's number one, courage for sure. Number two, where could you find me? Head on over to thedailylove.com and everything is there. I also do a weekly video on youtube.com/thedailylove, which we're also there. But, we have a newsletter that goes out a couple times a week that's jam-packed with all kinds of awesome stuff that you can't get on YouTube and Facebook and stuff. So we encourage you to sign up there as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely put all the links in the show notes so you all can connect with Mastin. So, well, thank you so much, Mastin. I really do appreciate you taking the time because time is something you can never take back. You can't get more of it. So I do appreciate you spending this time with us today and sharing your message and these amazing words with us.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for listening to the Awakened Goddess Show. If you enjoyed the show as much as I did, make sure to subscribe on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review. And until next time, goodbye everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Awakened Goddess. I hope you enjoyed today's show and took away something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at thegoddessnextdoor.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.